I think the most important and like mind-blowing thing for me was realizing that I'm not alone, and it's okay to share my story, and having people reaching out to me afterwards and just going, "You're not alone. How can we take on the things that you do and help you grow your business or help you in the things that you're doing?" It would be fantastic. And especially because I was sharing something so vulnerable.
Hi, I'm Donna.
And I'm Di. We are the Double Ds, and welcome to the Discovery Diaries.
We acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which we are recording this podcast. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and acknowledge their spiritual connection to family and storytelling.
We would love to use a few minutes to let you hear from some of the guests who've been on the podcast. And we're going to be asking them all just one really simple question. So, Susan, if you'd like to come up so that you're poised and ready. And the question that we're asking them is, what happened next? So after you're on the podcast, so Susan, we don't want to give away too much of your story, but just say hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Tell us what happened after the podcast for you.
Straight after, I felt fabulous because it was a great interview. But I got this email from a lady in Scotland, and she had heard the podcast, and she said she wondered if she could meet me over Zoom, because obviously, you know, the distance. And I said, yeah, great. So we set it up and everything. And I met this lovely lady. Her name is Lynn Mann, and she's an author. And she said, have you ever thought about writing a book? Because your story would be amazing in a book. And I said, well, funny you should mention that. But I've written over the years, 21 years, while I've been doing what I've been doing, and lots of pages. And she said, well, I'll help you put it together. So she is going to help me write my book, and she's hoping to come to Kenya in June, because that's where I live and work over there 3 months of the year. So it was all very exciting. Thank you.
So there we go, the power of a story.
Yeah.
Susan has a really powerful story, and as I say, one of the ones that really impacted me most. But there's the trajectory. Someone in Scotland hears it, is so impacted by it, not only wants to write her story but wants to go out and support the charity in Kenya, meet Susan, and who knows what's going to come of that.
Yep, absolutely. It's amazing.
Now, Susan, before you go, tell us where your wonderful op shop is for those of us who are op shoppers. I'm pretty much entirely dressed by an op shop. And where can they find you?
Okay, so we're 100% not-for-profit charity, where we guarantee 100% of your money goes to the charity. So what we do is we have a Hope Op Shop in Fremantle, dressed this evening, top to toe, except for the glasses, is in Vic Park. Yeah, 403 Vic Park, Albany Highway, Vic Park. So, got anything? We love a deceased estate, not saying it tonight. But it does happen. Love it. So drop your stuff off or come and buy the stuff.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Susan.
Pleasure.
Great to see you. And Tara, if you'd like to come up. The reason we're not telling you much about the stories is because we really actually want you to go and listen to them. So if you haven't, who's heard Susan's story? Yeah, it's a really amazing story. Tara, welcome. Tara has donated a prize. Tara comes to us from Seagulls, very close to my heart, because I also happen to mentor Tara. So, Tara, what happened next?
Firstly, thank you so much for offering the opportunity for me to speak more about my story. I think, as you know, when I catch up for coffee with you, you've seen me from a very different point that I believe that I am at now. You've given me a lot of guidance, but also speaking through my story more on the podcast gave me an opportunity to actually find myself a lot more, which has been lovely. And I think kind of solidifying what Seagulls is, because, again, I won't share too much of the story because that's the theme of the night, I'm gathering. But I didn't know what Seagulls was when I started it. It was all a bit of a happy accident that it was an ever-growing snowball that I just kind of kept up with, and I still am to this day. And so to take a step back and go, okay, what actually is this? And your podcast was the perfect format to do that in. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tara. I didn't pay her to say that.
I think what happened for me next was number one, I've got some very supportive grandparents that were very happy to listen to it. They didn't quite understand what a podcast was, but they really appreciated it. I think we are so caught up in the operational side of Seagulls because Seagulls is still my side hustle at the moment. And it was really lovely to hear feedback from our team. So we've got a team of about 20 women around Australia, and I am I feel at times very disconnected from them because I have not met most of these women on the other side of the country, up in Broome, down south. And so for them to hear more in-depth conversations about why we do what we do for women, it solidified, this is us, this is what we're doing. We're here for these women, we're here for us. I really want to keep going with this. That was really kind of what came out of it, which was lovely.
Thank you so much, Tara. Thanks, Tara. Awesome. Nio, would you like to come up?
Just while Nio's coming up, the thing that happened for me after the Seagulls episode was somehow I managed to join some of the Seagulls ocean swims, in the middle of winter, which I never would have done. So that was a really, really good experience. So
highly
thanks,
recommend
Tara.
a Seagulls swim. Nio, come on up. What is wrong with me? It's like a bath, Grant. I keep telling you. It's like a bath. Nio, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And
Hi,
lovely
everyone.
to see you again since we
so good to see you.
had you on our podcast. What happened next?
Well, I actually want to take on from Tara. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me the opportunity. I remember the first thing that I thought about doing a podcast is people are going to listen to me with an accent. Is that going to be okay? Are going to people understand what I'm saying? So thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so what happened next? I think the most important and mind-blowing thing for me was realizing that I'm not alone, and it's okay to share my story, and having people reaching out to me afterwards and just going, "You're not alone. How can we take on the things that you do and help you grow your business or help you in the things that you're doing?" It would be fantastic. And especially because I was sharing something so vulnerable, it was actually quite exciting to see that people were not going to judge. They didn't judge my accent. They didn't judge the story that I gave. And actually having people reaching out was really exciting. Very liberating. So thank you. Appreciate it, both of you.
Oh, thanks, Nio. And you're not the first one to tell us that actually telling your story in a particular way, sometimes for the first time, that 2 or 3 of our guests have said the same thing, that they've never actually told their story before to anyone.
Yeah.
So to hear that it's liberating is really, really wonderful for us, and it's a really powerful story. I would highly recommend Nio's episode to you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Another example of a guest who wasn't able to make it tonight, but I did want to share what's happened since his episode, and that was Wayne Sankey, who was he proposed to his girlfriend on the beach in Sri Lanka at Aragon Bay about 6 a.m, and then about less than an hour later, the Boxing Day Tsunami hit, and it became this incredible story of survival. It's been one of our most popular episodes, and Wayne. The Boxing Day Tsunami was in 2004, and it took Wayne nearly 20 years to be able to share that story. He was that traumatised by it, but he also said it was so liberating being able to tell that story for the first time. And after his episode, it was really interesting because in the episode he spoke a lot about a group of Canadians that rescued a lot of people, and he thought they were incredibly courageous, went looking for bodies, and gathered up a lot of water bottles and other materials to help people. And so after the episode, I was able to track down the Canadians through LinkedIn, actually, and he had their names. They're quite unusual names, Rick Lochtenberg and Sonia Lochtenberg, and so I was able to get them back in contact with each other. So Wayne was absolutely thrilled about that, and they listened to the episode and really loved it as well. So that was fantastic. Also, Wayne talked about a person who he lent his shorts to, which is a person called Nate Berkus. And Nate Berkus is quite a famous person in the USA. He's a famous designer, and his partner died in the tsunami, disappeared, and they were never able to find him. So his name was Fernando, and we were able to track down Fernando's brother, who is called Marcelo, and Marcelo goes, his mission in life is to keep his brother's memory alive. His brother was an incredible artist, and he did weaving art, and he goes around showing Fernando's artworks around the world. But he's currently doing a documentary, and he's gone back to Aragon Bay, and that documentary will be coming out soon. So he listened to Wayne's podcast and loved it, and soon there'll be a documentary called Woven Together about the tsunami as well. So it was really fantastic to have these things happen following the podcast about for Wayne.
Not sure that we'll get the 2.5 million followers that Nate's got, but you know, maybe one day Oprah will ask us to come on. You never know.
This episode is sponsored by the Speakers Institute Premier Boot Camp. So the Speakers Institute teaches and coaches people into how to speak in public. And in early December 2024, I attended a 3-day Premier Boot Camp myself, and it was a completely life-changing experience. I went along to learn how to share my story, part of my personal story, in a better way and in a way that I wouldn't become as emotional when I was telling it. And so I started off in a very bad way, very emotional, but with all the skills, the humour, the care and compassion of the coaches and of the other participants, by the end of day 3, I was able to deliver a 6-minute presentation on part 1 of my personal story. So I was very proud of that, and I found it a life-changing experience. So if you want to read a little bit more about my own experience in the Speakers Institute Premier Boot Camp, you can do that, and you can sign up as well if you're interested. It's a 3-day boot camp, and they have them throughout the year in various locations. So go to donnasbalconyviews.com.au/public speaking. So that's donnasbalconyviews.com.au/public speaking, and you can transform your public speaking like I did. And the last guest that we'll get to come up tonight is Steve Cox. So if you want to come up here, Steve.
Give him a round of applause. So, Steve, we'll be asking you the same question, and when you come up and sit down and grab the mic.
Now, people that bump into Steve on the South Beach track know that he's quite shy and finds it
I'm very shy,
he's short of words.
And we've got permission to say, OK, Steve, stop now. We've got permission, haven't we?
Thank you.
But, Steve, what happened next?
Oh, Jesus Christ, what you done to me? I didn't know I was the first. These two ladies, they were so professional when I walked in there. I was very nervous. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And it just flowed. When they started asking the questions, it sort of just flowed. What happened next for me is I've been trying to tell the blackfellas out to listen to a podcast. They got no idea what a podcast. So I was trying to get these people to listen to my podcast, and I haven't been successful at the moment. So that's yeah.
But I hear you're a bit of a celebrity down at South Beach now. Not that you maybe weren't before, Steve, but I think your fame has grown somewhat.
Well, I was walking down on the foreshore where I met Donna. And the other day I was walking and there was this woman chasing me. And I looked around and, of course, I thought my luck had changed. And then when she got closer to me, she said, "Excuse me," she said, "you wouldn't be Steve Cox by any chance?" I said, "That all you're going to ask me?" And I said, "Yeah, why did you chase me?" She said, "Because I listened to the Donna podcast." And she was very impressed with your podcast. And I started to get a bit disappointed because I thought there was something else. I really did. I was a bit disappointed, and I said, "Oh, well, yeah, it was good." And I kept walking. And she turned around and left. So, yeah, I got pretty popular.
And Steve, you also said that you did have some thoughts about sharing your story for the first time, so that firstly, your stories are recorded, and secondly, that a lot of non-Indigenous people have heard some of the Indigenous stories for the first time on your podcast.
Yeah, a lot of those stories, it made me think about my life growing up, and to talk about it, it's because you live it and you forget it as an Aboriginal person, and you move on to the next day. Well, I do anyway. And when I was sitting talking about doing the podcast, everything started to come back to what actually happened when you're growing up. Now, a little bit about me. My dad was a white man and my mum was a full-blooded Noongar woman. So I had a bit of both worlds growing up and learning things. And like the story about my sister at the bingo, and walking into that bingo centre, I didn't think I was going to walk out of there with a sister. And it was so surprising just how we found out with this woman sitting staring at me, and again I thought my luck had changed because she must have thought I was the most beautiful bloke in that all. But she kept staring at me, and when I got up at half time and walked over and I asked her, did I steal her husband's shirt? And she said no. I said, well, do I owe you money? And she said no. And then I said, well, why the hell are you staring at me like you are? That's one of my pet hates. I hate people staring at me. And she just turned and said, I'm staring at you because you're my brother. I said, all black fellas are brothers and sisters, aren't we? But she said, no, you are really my brother. And she named my whole family, my mum and dad. And it made me realise I'm looking at this woman and I can see resemblance of the family face and the resemblance that this woman is this. Oh, she did a good research on the Cox family, or she really know us. But that wasn't unusual because Cox is a big name in WA. We're the biggest Aboriginal family in WA. And she told me, she said, go home and ask your mum tonight who Joyce Irwin is. So I went and I rang me mum when I got home, and she said, yeah, that's my daughter. I said, she's my sister, and she said, yeah. I said, why weren't I told about this? Why weren't the family told about it? Mum said it hurt too much, that she lost not only her but a few elder kids as well. But it made me realise that what Stolen Generation has done to the Indigenous people, because you don't realise until it happens to you. And when it happened to me then, and talking to these ladies about that night, what actually happened. And when I thought about it, I got to know his sister. I won $1,000 that night and I took a sister home. so there's always something good come out of it. And I never ever went back and played bingo again because I thought I might have found another sister. Another family member.
So Steve has got some wonderful stories. Do catch him over pizza and in the break and over some music. Steve, thank you so much for coming on our podcast and for sharing what happened next.
Thanks very much for having me.
And thank you for being part of our story, everybody. And thank you for coming tonight.
So there's a couple of minutes if you want to ask us anything. So if you want to come up, ask us a question, maybe 5 minutes if anyone's got a burning question. If not, we'll just get on with some more prizes.
I think you've both just started the second series, so I was wondering if you've changed direction in terms of your thinking and the message you're trying to project.
Yeah, this second series we're focusing on I suppose, more experts in their fields to try and give people some tools to build their own courage and resilience. So we've had so far Professor Rob Donovan, who is the founder of Act, Belong, Commit. And so he has spoken about how you can incorporate Act, Belong, Commit into your own life, as well as talking about the history and the research. So that Act, Belong, Commit started in WA in 2005 and is now going to about 15 European countries. And it's already quite big in Denmark and some of the Scandinavian countries. So that was a really interesting story. And then Lockie O'Donoghue, who I've spoken about. And then I think the next season we are going to be going back to sharing the individual stories, because we've got quite a lot of amazing people that we've met that we want to share their stories.
Some of the advice we got about podcasting itself sort of strategically as well was that it's good to have a break and not just to keep running something endlessly, and also to mix it up a bit, to actually have seasons. So there's sort of some conclusions, and also gives us a chance to do things like this, which is celebrate and actually market as well and do something different with it. So that was part of the reasoning as well, is to switch it up a little bit, is just apparently that helps. So, trying to be vaguely strategic along the way as well. But it is very emergent. Like, we're really open to kind of how it emerges and what happens next and what the audience might tell us as well, and how people respond to things. So, yeah. Yeah.
And also one thing we will be doing, we're not quite sure when, but we are going to be sharing our own stories as well. So I know Di's got a few things she'd like to speak about in the podcast, and I've recently released a small video about part one of my story, but there'll be more to come on our own personal stories of courage and resilience as well.
Another question from Tara. Be gentle, Tara.
Always. It was actually perfect timing that you brought up that you're going to share your own life stories, because I had this question that I wanted to ask both of you. You're sharing everyone else's stories, and we obviously don't have time tonight to hear yours, but what is one life lesson that you wish to share with the room?
Well, I think you teach what you want to learn. So part of resilience for me is because I feel like I have needed it and I've needed to learn it along the way around lots of things, which I will share some of at some point. But I think that idea that resilience is not this fixed, static, strong thing that you kind of become and then, it never changes. The biggest lesson I've learned about resilience is how you can access your own resourcefulness and what gets in the way of that. And for me, that's a much better definition. It serves me better when I think about what's getting in the way of me being resourceful, getting to show up and be who I am, or getting up and doing the best work, or just enjoying life. What gets in the way of that? And that usually tells me that there's something wrong with my resilience if something's off. So for me, that's a much more helpful definition as a human being, to think about, what's getting in the way of my ability to access my resourcefulness, as opposed to I've got to be really strong and tough it out and keep going, which we know doesn't work.
Yeah, I think what I've learnt through my own life quakes, I suppose you could say, is that it can break you at the beginning, but it doesn't have to keep breaking you. You can rebuild yourself, and it can end up making you, and there can be some good things come out of it. For example, if you go through difficult times with other people, you become very close to them and form great friendships and bonds. And so that's one great thing that can happen. And, I think you're a lot stronger than you think you are, and you can get through things. I think even it was Anzac Day a few days ago, and hearing about those sorts of stories from the soldiers and what they got through. And I think that we must believe that we can get through, and that we will become stronger as a result and be able to help other people.
And we're just really, really grateful that you've taken a Tuesday night out. Let's blow some bubbles around.
Just also want to thank Darren for hosting tonight. It's absolutely fantastic. Everyone will agree it's a beautiful venue. And thanks to everyone who helped as well. Freddie and Sharon,
sisters.
Jackie, everybody.
We hope you've loved today's episode. We always enjoy bringing these to you. We'd love to grow the podcast, and one of the ways that we can do that is to ask you to like us, to follow us, to give us a review, but also just to share it with your friends and family.